Good morning and welcome back to United TV. Hopefully you've had a good weekend. Hopefully you enjoyed the match. If you're an England supporter, obviously you would have enjoyed getting through. And Manchester United, we're going to be going back to the transfer situation. And it seems that according to a few sources and a lot of stuff over the weekend, Manchester United, we know the original plan. We know that all these players have now gone to different clubs. Matheus Fernandes, Tonali, Anderson, Tchouameni, etc. So it does seem that Man United now have to see what's left in the market, and it still seems to be, after the Edison deal collapsed, we've gone from thinking that Santos is the first signing to Santos really being the only midfield signing Manchester United have made. It does seem that there's going to be a bit of a redrawing of a shortlist, and these are the names on it. So we do have Kone, who's been talked about a lot. People are watching him in the World Cup for France. We've got JOAO GOMES coming back onto the scene. We're also looking at Alex Scott is still going to be talked about as well. And there's also, in terms of like links and journalists talking about Bawadi's being mentioned. But I think at the moment, we're probably going to be sticking mainly to what is the most likely signing. And these signings seem to be the ones that Man United think they can be doing, maybe the easier deals. So we've got Kone, will be about 50 million. I think JOAO GOMES, after moves for him to leave Wolves haven't happened. Again, he might be the same sort of price as well. So we're talking about 50 million euros, maybe like 40, 45 million pounds. Not very expensive. And it does seem to be that Man United are not going to be spending crazy in this market. That's why when I saw Bawadi linked, I'm a big fan of Bawadi, but the price might be prohibitive as well. We'll have to see. But as this is a live stream, we don't often do 9 a.m. live streams, so we're going to be maybe a bit quieter stream. But if you want to get your thoughts and comments into the comment section, we can go through those during the stream as well. I did put the shortlist and what's perceived to be the shortlist by a few sources as a poll, so you can vote. If Man United, the good thing is Manchester United need to sign 2 players, so it's not going to be just get Kone, just get someone else. I mean, Belieber does get mentioned as well, so maybe once we've signed 1 player more, which I think has to happen quite soon, we're the middle of July now. There's going to be a pre-season match on the weekend, which we'll be covering, so the time is now to get these deals done. Like a lot of other clubs are doing deals now, so I think we've been patient so far as a channel. We've been quite patient, but after the Edison deal falls apart, you've got to start going right. We need to get some players in now. It's getting a bit ridiculous, and the price is only going to go up as well. For some of these players we're talking about, if you don't sign these players in, the price is only going to go up. Before we go into it, welcome to the chat, Jim. Welcome, Andy. Good to see you, Matty, as well. Pundit Cody, and I hope everyone is having a good morning. I guess most of the people here are probably going to be happy that England get through. Argentina is going to be a different level match again. So what are your thoughts on who should be the next signing? Who should Man United be going for signing number 2? And are you open-minded to, like, for any of the players we mentioned today? Is there anyone you do not want, or would you be happy with most of these players? I think JOAO GOMES got talked about so much about 2 months ago. The price has probably not gone up at all either, so it's not going to be particularly expensive. BOT real. So yeah, this is like probably exciting territory for Manchester United fans. So you like, I think that's Kone. You're saying Kone, Angel Stiller coming in, both good options in style of play. So I think with this one as well, that Manchester United signing 2 more players, it feels a little bit like, yeah, it's annoying because it's the middle of July, but Manchester United haven't done deals at the moment where people are going to be really outraged that these players are not good enough. So the transfer window is still, it's still open. There's still a lot of possibilities to buy players that Man United are happy with. But at the moment, I think a lot of people probably rule out some other players. And I did see there's a couple of, I've seen the same thing, Andy. I've seen links to Alex Scott to Chelsea. I don't think Chelsea have got that sort of money at the moment. I think Alex Scott is going to cost maybe £80 million, maybe even a bit more considering that Matheus Fernandes went for 85. So I don't think Chelsea are in a position to spend big money. We'll have to see. There are a few Chelsea players for sale, and it looks like Chelsea are trying to raise money. It looks like Chelsea are trying to shrink their squad a bit. They've got no European football, so given like they've got Caicedo already, and unless a big name goes and Enzo leaves, Chelsea have got a good midfield at the moment as it stands. Santos wasn't getting in the team much anyway, so I don't know. With 1 game a week, like Chelsea might be, they might be looking at Scott if big money comes in for another player. I don't think buying Santos is going to mean that Alex Scott replaces him because if anything, that would be three expensive midfielders in Chelsea's squad. So I see Alex Scott as a replacement for maybe someone like Caicedo, Enzo, or someone expensive that leaves Chelsea. So I do keep seeing this, but I do keep seeing lots of players linked with an exit from Chelsea. So yeah, I think at this point in time, Chelsea might do a deal, but I think there's going to have a player leave first. So again, it might be to replace the top talent as well. Vril saying four-man shortlist, those from the poll. So in terms of like the first source I was reading this morning, they're putting those names there, but in reality, a lot of people might be guessing the shortlist. I think what they're looking at is who's been linked to Manchester United lots recently. Manu Kone is probably the most linked player to Manchester United over the maybe last week, with him replacing too many in the French team in the World Cup, and also Man United's interest, the price that he's available at. So I'm saying at the moment it's a bit sketchy on the exact targets Manchester United have got, and I think the reason for that is that Manchester United have to regroup. They have to try and see what's left in the market. So it doesn't feel like it's been organised particularly well. And Matty says, "Do I trust Ineos? I've never really trusted Jim Radcliffe. I think with this one, Matty, I thought transfers we made last year were decent transfers. We got good players in that replaced aspects of our team that needed fixing, and I thought, okay, it made sense. At the moment, like Santos is a football player. Santos is a good player. He's going to be a Brazil international in the not too distant future. He made the I think the 55-man squad for this World Cup. Casemiro, he's on the way out in terms of Brazil and international football at the highest level. So I think that that was a decent signing. And the question at the moment is there a reason why Man United didn't want to go for Matheus Fernandes? Like, I don't really. If you think Matheus Fernandes really fits what you want, and you get that close within like a few million of what they actually want, then it's a bit of a question mark over at Ineos, isn't it? And it's a bit of a question whether the strategy works out. So, Matty, I don't really trust Ineos, but if Man United did a good transfer window and results next season carried on, if we had a conversation in 6 weeks' time and we feel like Michael Carrick's being backed adequately, then I think trust would maybe come back. But at the moment, there's literally nothing to judge on this window, is there? Like nothing's happened. So from the outside, obviously we don't know what's happening inside, but from the outside, it just looks like nothing. It looks a bit like United are in disarray and their plan isn't really working. I think most people probably looked at this transfer window and said, "Yeah, prices are going to go up. They're going to be more expensive." And the prices quoted are actually the prices that have been happening. So I think there's no surprise, is there? I mean, once we had Matheus Fernandes going for 85, I think most people went, okay, right, every single price that the clubs want, you're going to have to pay that. If you want Boadi, you're going to have to pay 85 million. If you want Diamonde, you're going to have to pay 85 million. If you don't want to pay those prices, then this is the list we got. So this is why we're talking about Kone, we're talking about Gomez as well, and maybe also Alex Scott is going to be there. And when I was looking at it, these two players on screen, these are being pushed as the most achievable. Not necessarily the best options, but the most achievable in terms of how much they're going to cost. Not going to be very expensive. You're probably looking about £10 million more than Edison, and Edison was seen as a cheap deal. But these players are younger; they got more years in the contract. I think there would be maybe more exciting options for a lot of people. And I think if you're going to compare Edison with JOAO Gomez, what I'd say with JOAO Gomez is Gomez has proved that he can do this at a Premier League level, whereas Edison spent the vast majority of his career in Serie A. So it's a bit of probably an upgrade. And I think Manu Kone as well. The fact that he's doing a good job in the French midfield, regardless of whether you think it's not the level of too many, he's obviously a very good player to make that French team. And so these options, I'm just thinking that Man United go for one of these, and then you look at these as being like say £45 million, and then the other options on the table, Bawardi, Alex Scott, they're both going to be about the 85 million, aren't they? So it could be that you go for one of these players and then one of the other players. That would kind of make sense because that would be say 50 million on Santos, 45 million on one of these two players, 80 million on Alex Scott or Boadi. So you're looking at getting three players comfortably under 200 million. It seems that that might be somewhat how the transfer window pans out, and I don't know what if people would be happy with that. I think if we start moving on to other aspects of the team, maybe people would be a bit more, a bit more enthusiastic. But I'll go through a few of the comments as well. And Jim says we need Scott. The owners need to show that we're going for a better player than mid-table ones. I think with Santos, Santos is young, so I think to say I can't really comment too much on Santos's level because Santos is young. He could have a very high ceiling. Like we know that being captain at 80, under 18s, under 23s level international, he's obviously very good. And I think if you compared Santos with 18-year-olds when he was 18, etc., he looks very decent. I think with Santos. Santos is probably like it. This is going to be like maybe a breakout year for Santos. He wasn't going to get in the Chelsea team. If he gets a lot more games, I think we can judge him a lot more. And to be honest, like it's very difficult to say how good Santos is going to be because we just don't know. But Santos is one for the future. Alex Scott is probably a player that's established himself a bit more. But the problem is the way transfer fees are. Having someone like Santos who is on the sort of periphery of first team football these days, it's cost Man United £50 million to get this deal done, and to get Alex Scott would cost about 85 million. Like, there's no way around that. He would cost about 85 million, and despite that, he's not signing a new contract. I saw the story this morning that this is like Bournemouth's stance on Alex Scott. Like Bournemouth are calm. They believe Scott's going to sign a new deal. They're going to do something similar to Semenyo. Alex Scott would probably get a massive price rise. It would probably put him in line with something similar to what he might get at a bigger club like a Manchester United or a Chelsea. And so it would mean that I think the contract offers from United or Chelsea wouldn't change. Like we bought Cunha, and Cunha got a big contract price right, big contract boost from Wolves not long before we bought him. It's standard practice to get a release clause in there. Bournemouth are going to do exactly what they did, like I think a year ago with Semenyo. Semenyo signed a new 5-year contract. They put a release clause in. They would do exactly what they were doing this time. The question is, I suppose, if at the moment, if Alex Scott is available for maybe £80 million, then I don't know what sort of release clause they're going to put in. Like, if they put a release clause of £80 million in, that's pretty big. I mean, the Semenyo was about 65, so we're looking like quite an expensive release clause. But I suppose if he starts the season, what happened last year was Semenyo had that release clause put in. He started the season unbelievably good. And I suppose Semenyo was very motivated to make sure that someone wanted to buy him in January, but he was extremely good at the start of the season. And for Alex Scott, I suppose if you got that release clause, there's an incentive to play very well because then clubs can come in and get you. And maybe that does happen. I think it would be a bit annoying if that does happen from a Manchester United perspective because then you're going to have to pay that sort of money. The only question mark, I suppose, with this one is there a scenario where Manchester United can get this deal done in this window? So it seems that Bournemouth want to, for whatever reason, sell him in January. Maybe Bournemouth have got an idea they want £80 million. If Manchester United offers 70, 75 million now, is it going to be enough to get the deal done? We saw that offer was not enough to get to try and buy player recently, and we saw Matheus Fernandes. I thought Matheus Fernandes would go for less money, but once that happened, you have to look at it and say, no, this is how much money they want. So let me just jump into the comments as well. This will be a shorter stream. We're going to do like 9 a.m.s, but they're going to be a bit shorter. So we might wrap up in about, let's say, about 20 minutes, 15 minutes. So let's go through a few of the comments as well. And yeah, Aston Villa just signed a good player as well. And again, Newcastle were at the table. Newcastle tried to get him, didn't work out. I'd say Ineos are doing an asset stripping job for a big sale in a few years' time, saving money on staff, wages, players, ticket price increases, new stadium plans, etc. I said something, think I said something similar after the Matheus Fernandes, like we dropped out of that deal. This feels very much like when I've worked in business myself, and you see a lot of accountants are very interested in certain metrics, and one of them is if you can reduce the running cost of a business, it does make you more attractive to investors. It does make the price potentially how much you can get for sale. Because I worked somewhere where they were looking at trying to raise money, and it's similar to the Glazers trying to raise money. And one thing investors look at is, right, what's your turnover? what's your running costs, and then they use EBITDA calculations to estimate, okay, what's the business worth? So if Manchester United want to increase the value of their business, cutting running costs, it's not exciting, but cutting running costs, effectively trying to get the same position in the Premier League with a lower wage bill, and also boosting sponsorships. Like sponsorship deals should go up, profits going to go up during the Champions League. So I can see all these sort of things. It does make me a bit suspicious because I think it seems to be it's not put it this way, getting a lower wage bill is not a plan to win the Premier League. Like, it's not a way, and most clubs that win the Premier League have a big wage bill, and also signing cheaper players can be frugal, can be sensible if you're going to get some bargains. But genuinely, in terms of like the way the transfers are going, the way Man City is doing it with like Semenyo's an obvious target is not cheap, and say Eddie Anderson, an obvious target, definitely not cheap. Now, these are the sort of signings that are obvious signings to try and win the Premier League in the very short term. So these are signings that they jump into your team, they hit the ground running. And for Man United, this is a little bit more like Arsenal, like say 3 or 4 years ago. So for this plan to come to fruition, it feels like it's going to take a few years, doesn't it? So it feels a bit like we're looking at these signings and going like Santos, I think is a good signing, but Santos isn't going to come in like Elliot Anderson have that sort of impact. So we're going to have to wait longer. So I think that's why people are a bit skeptical about Ineos because it seems that their motivations don't necessarily match as much as fans do. I say Ineos have gone from Brazilian midfielders Edison Santos Gomes to replace Brazilian midfielder Casemiro. Can they not think outside the box? Do you know what I was saying? It almost feels a bit like a joke, doesn't it? Where you go, right, too many is your top target, right? Too many's injured for France. You got Kone playing for France. Suddenly, Kone's Man United's target. And then you look at it on the other side and go, right, Santos is going to be likely Casemiro's replacement at an international level as well. And he was, like I said, is not in the shortlisted squad before the World Cup, then didn't make the final squad. And you got, it does seem to be like ridiculous, doesn't it? I think we just about it. It feels like we're joking about it, but it seems that that's exactly the case. And hopefully, yeah, hopefully, listen, Cake said this is it is quite early for me. I think that the thing that makes it quite early for me is that if you're going to do a stream at 9 a.m., you've got to then be ready at 8 a.m. to effectively set things up. So I will try and do shorter streams in the morning because I don't think I could talk for a whole hour in the morning as well. But no, I was thinking I'm not going to be able to stream very late at night. So don't you think it's to get investors to invest in the stadium? I think with this one, there's no doubt people will invest in the stadium, won't they? I think I like the idea of Man United either, if you have a new stadium, obviously you've got to have a new stadium at some point. Most people would have preferred regenerating Old Trafford, but the point remains that this should not impact Man United's ability to buy players. You should be looking at getting investment in that can fund that. And considering that we've got American owners, the way that stadiums are built in the USA, they tend to be largely funded by not the clubs themselves, but the area around them. So I don't know whether the Glazers are just a bit unrealistic about it. It's going to cost a lot of money to do this. But I think one of the good thing is Manchester United getting back into the Champions League. If we can keep staying in the Champions League year after year, I don't see any problem with getting investment into Man United. Like that's one thing that has got to be easy to do. Like there's always sponsors queuing up for Man United, so we should be able to look at doing that and hopefully maintain sensible transfer strategy. Morning to you, Stephanie. Good to see you in the chat. Morning, Genghis. Good to see you as well. It does seem that at the moment, I'd imagine without any Rashford news, I would probably say, let's see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen with Rashford. All I would say is that from a Man United perspective, I would probably just not post negative stuff. If I'm a football club and I want to sell something, it's like if I've got a bike downstairs in my garage. Okay, I've had it a few years, quite a few years actually, and I think I might have to probably try and sell it and then buy a new one. I'm not going to post something online saying listing all the faults and going, okay, there's a few things you need to fix. You just put a photo on it and let people. I would think for Manchester United, they want to sell Rashford, so it makes sense not to have a lot of negative stuff going out there. You know how we had the Garnacho situation where it's pretty much Man United, Garnacho needs to go. So I think if Man United say they're going to reintegrate Rashford, that's the right thing to do. Whether it happens or not, I have no idea at all. I still think that Man United 99% want to sell Rashford, but they're just not going to be putting anything negative out there in the hope they get a sale. So I think with the Rashford thing, I'm not going to say anything negative either. Let's see what happens. And that story's going to run and run, I think, as well. Helgi said, I saw a tweet today, United are closing on Darlow and Santos. And so one thing I saw as well that Manchester United have had this deal for a Roscoe done maybe about a year, 18 months ago. We talked about it on Red Devil United. It feels about like possibly like 18 months, 2 years ago, quite a long time. And Darlow is effectively a backup goalkeeper that's going to cost about £2. And anyway, these deals are going to be like, I think Darlow's about 35, isn't he? These deals were like, one is extremely cheap, and Darlow probably barely plays. And I think the Orozco deal was done deal arranged, yeah, over a year ago. So and I think I saw a tweet saying Manchester United have made three signings, and I was thinking, whatever spin you put on it, I mean, you can do that. The aggregator accounts are working hard to try and maintain positivity. I'd say it's genuinely a struggle. This one. Big up to Rich99 Arsenal. Good Arsenal channel, putting out a lot of information. I don't think I've seen you in the chat before, Rich, but big up to you. Thank you for getting in your comment. It says Kone looks the real deal. Roma would definitely end up selling him. A lot of clubs will be after him. Interesting as well, when I first read about Kone, and you're probably an expert on this because I did see, I think you put a couple of shorts out on your channel. So, Rich99 Arsenal, if you want to get an Arsenal perspective on a few things, go there because I think Arsenal were definitely linked with Kone. And I think I saw Roma offering him for 43 million, 50 million euros, something like that. I think the difference is going to be Arsenal have got Declan Rice. I think you're going to. I think you might have pivoted towards Bruno Guimaraes, who I think is probably a better option for you guys because you won the Premier League title next season. You're probably going to be in the mix to try and win it again. But I think from Manchester United perspective, that deal makes sense. I think the question mark is going to be, can Man United get this deal done pretty rapidly? Probably not because he's in the World Cup, and it seems that we did have a list of easy targets. When I say easy, this is Man United, okay. But when I say easy, I meant they're not at the World Cup. They're then the deals are there to be negotiated. Can Man United get these deals done? With someone like Kone, he's at the World Cup. It's going to take a little bit more time, but he does look like a decent player to me. And now, interesting. I think with Arsenal as well, you probably can't guarantee him as much football. So I think for United at the moment, he can walk in as like one of our few players. Uh, Morning, my man, Mr. Helgi. Hope you're doing well, Helgi. Hope you're good. I did reply to your message very late on, so after the match. It was a bit of a heavy night for me. So, I looked in this morning. I looked in the morning after, and no spelling mistakes. So I think I got saved by I don't know my phone just recognizing roughly what I wanted to type. But no, hope you're doing well after that match. It was a bit of a cagey match. No, no. I mean, this is my bike, Stephanie. So no, it just had a lot of use. But if you need stabilizers, then I think there might be a child's bike there that we can negotiate on. I'm probably better at selling things than Man United. When I list things, they do get sold. So I'm a bit more proactive when it comes to getting things out. This one. Um, Philip's in the chat. I missed your comment, Philip, but big up to you. Hope you're doing well, mate. I do reference Newcastle a little bit because every time there's a Man United story, other teams seem to get tagged. I don't think it's not my intention to like talk about other clubs in that sort of manner. But every time Man United sign a player, I think the Santos one, then Manchester United. As soon as we signed Santos, a journalist came out and said Newcastle offered more money. Santos chose Man United. Right. I don't know if that's 100% true. I think for Man United fans, it feels like, oh, someone's chosen us. But it's almost like a bit of a sarcastic sort of credit for Man United because it feels like Manchester United players have to want to sign for us. I don't know if that's an excuse to not sign more expensive players, but sometimes it feels like that, and it's a bit frustrating from Man United perspective. List Rashford says Andy. I think Rashford's going to leave, but I don't think Man United want to advertise the fact they're forcing him out because that wouldn't be conducive. The most recent thing I saw regarding Rashford was potentially Spurs want him at their club. So I don't know, whatever's happening, something's happened at Spurs where I think someone's found the combination lock for the safe and or sort of the credit card's been reactivated. Something's happening at Spurs. They're spending money like they're worried about. It's almost like they've been in the relegation fight for 2 years and they realise they probably need to change their squad quite dramatically. So a bit of an epiphany for Spurs owners. You need to spend money if you want to avoid being a shit team for 3 years in a row. It'd be quite nice if Manchester United's owners had the same sort of revelation, realised that maybe we need to spend if we want to buy better players. But until that happens, we're going to have to just be forced. I can't even force positivity at the moment. When people say, like, "How are you happy with Man United?" or "Do I trust in yours?" They've literally done nothing so far this window. So I can't really sort of say what a shit deal we've done, or because nothing's happened. Like Darlow is a backup goalkeeper. Apparently, Man United are linked to another goalkeeper, so I think they're looking at a more serious backup for Lamans. But at the moment, I think Darlow for me just feels a bit like, okay, right, Binder's definitely gone. We've loaned out another crap goalkeeper and Nana for a year, so they're just forgetting about that for a second. Helge's saying just because someone's been injured a little bit before doesn't mean they'll be injured for the next 6 years. There is definitely there's definitely a few players where I'm trying to think of other examples, but Kone's obviously had a few injuries in recent years. But if you look at it, he's missed what 6 or 7 games per season. If Man United are going to be playing 55 games and Kone features in 40 of them, I don't think there's going to be too much complaint. I think you could say Kobe Mainoo's missed a few games as well, but if you get some more depth into the squad, you're going to get less injuries. Like it's a bit of a no-brainer. If you're going to have if you think Luke Shaw can play 55 games, you'll probably be in like a group with just yourself that thinks that no one thinks Luke Shaw is going to play 55 games, and I don't think anyone's going to be expecting many of our players to play that. Like Kobe Mainoo doesn't tend to play that many games. I mean, Kobe Mainoo is effectively having a rest and a bit of a holiday in the USA. He's played no minutes there, so from that perspective, it could be a benefit for Komani, but I think a lot of players that do pick up injuries, it's difficult to list. Apart from Bruno Fernandes and maybe we should sign more Portuguese players because Dallo and Bruno Fernandes are two players that don't miss many games. I think even actually Edison, until the medical issue that happened, he hadn't missed many games for Atalanta either. So someone not missing many games or someone missing loads of games, like just do them a thorough medical. People used to say this about Harry Kane. Like, I used to stream about Harry Kane 5 years ago and say we should get him in, and people said he's an injury-prone player. And when you looked at it, Harry Kane had missed about 1 game a year, so there was no. I think people look back to maybe like even years previous, but again, I don't think Kane is a particularly injury-prone player, but he does pick up some knocks like a few people as well. One thing I found as well, I did post this on social media. Helgi might have seen it, other people might have seen it. Is that if someone doesn't want a player, the three things I hear is overpriced, injury prone, and what's the other one? There's like a third one, but there's always like oh they're overrated. They don't rate them. They're not going to cut it in the Premier League. So I think when Man United didn't sign Matheus Fernandes, people went, oh he's like too expensive. He's Eddie Anderson, oh he was that bit too expensive. There's better value in the market. And then Boadi, 85 million. People go, oh okay, 85 million. That's too much for a player of his quality. And the players were not, Edison for me. People were saying, oh he's not played in the Premier League. He's not. So I think there's always a reason not to sign a player. And so you're saying that which actually, I put a comment up. I'm not sure what the context is. You're not sure which player is desperate at the moment. We can be calm and relaxed, but we have to say that Man United are desperate for midfielders. We've signed one, so I don't. Maybe desperate's a bit extreme. There's still a lot of players out there, but yeah, I think as fans, okay, put it this way: as fans, we're desperate for Manchester United to sign a midfielder. We don't have a midfield. We have Kobe Menu, we have Santos. That's our midfield. And I'm not going to say, oh look who's in the academy, because that is not how serious clubs operate. You don't just throw people into the academy hoping they're going to be as effective as signing a player that's already played at senior level. So I think there will be options for people to step up from the academy, but I want there to be 4 players in midfield that are going to be there as well. Oh yeah, just mentioned that Sir Harold of Kane missed a lot of matches due to injury. He just fixed things, didn't he? I think he changed a few things, how he's training and recovered really well. But no, it was definitely a thing. People did keep telling me Harry Kane was injured, and I was looking back at it and going, he's like missed 3 games in 4 years. He's not injury prone. Um, so remember, Arsenal were offered a Goumet for 17, then we show up and it's 30. Do you think this one though? I think we just but maybe with this one, yeah, the Kone 43 million. I don't know if Rich is still in the chat, but Kone 43 million and now Man United. So the price is going up, is it? It- there could be a currency issue that sometimes the price gets quoted. Whenever it's a Man United story, just check the facts. When I saw the first time I saw Manchester United linked to Kone, it was 50 million euros, which is still 43 million pounds. So 55 million would then be, yeah, that'd be a big price hike, wouldn't it? So the only thing I could think of is as the transfer window progresses, deals will edge up in price. Like it seems like stupid because it's only only talking about a month, but it happened last year. I think it's going to happen again this year. As you go through the transfer window and as you progress, there'll be less options available. It's effectively like going to, I just said this, it's like going to buy food from a supermarket. It's a barbecue, it's there's barbecue weather. You're going to go get some food from the supermarket. You turn up, most of the shelves are empty. The supermarket owner could then go, right, we're going to double the price of stuff that's left. Yeah, the stuff that's on the shelves isn't what you wanted. It's not why you came here, but it's going to cost the same as the stuff that you wanted and would have paid more for. It's just going to be supply and demand. And Man United are going to be right. Which players are still available? Or Alex Scott, we thought he was going to be 55, 60 million pounds. He's now going to be 80 million pounds. Okay, if you look at Joe Gomez, his price might not go up too much, but based on what's been happening. But anyway, Kone, thing is, Kone, we didn't talk about Kone a week ago. And now Kone's playing in the World Cup and France are looking exceptional. When you see 43 million pounds, something doesn't add up. 55 million pounds feels like a more realistic price. If you're Roma, okay, he's not going to be on a very big contract at Roma, so he's not going to cost a lot. I just think from Man United point of view, just get this deal done, wrapped up very quickly, please. Let me go through a few comments and big up to you, Al, as well. So you're big on value for money, but I'd make an exception for Obawadi. So I think a lot of people are the same, aren't they? A lot of people look at it, and if there's deals you think are like, when I talked about Tonali, some people go right, get Tonali, and I think Helgi might have been one. I think Indiana might be another one, and there's a few people that have wanted Tonali for years. They forget what no, they don't care what he's done at Newcastle because you can look at what the player did before that, see what the player's capable of, and I think a lot of people have a favourite signing. And for me, Buwadi was like somewhat my favourite signing for me. The reasons were initially is because Buwadi was achievable for half the price it would have cost now, and the potential was there. And I think all that we're seeing now is more people are aware of the potential. He's just proving it a bit more. So instead of having a few games where people go, "This player's got something special," now we're seeing more games, and we're seeing it in a World Cup. We'd seen it before in the Champions League, and the price has gone up. So I think the frustrating thing is the price has gone up quite dramatically. But I think we could have got him we could have got him a year ago, and maybe when people say players not for sale, and I know Buardi, they didn't want to sell him because he's so good and he's going to go up in value. I think you could just put a big offer on the table and go like, if we'd have offered 40 million pounds a year ago, could we have got that deal done? Because I'd have probably gone for that. I'd have gone a bit higher as well. I'd gone 50 and that might have got the deal done. So I know people thought we could get him for 25, 30. Now, these players are exceptional. I don't think you're going to get them for that sort of price. But now we're going to have to pay a bit more, unfortunately, if we get him. That's why I think it's unlikely that Man United might have missed the boat. I think, sadly, when it comes to 80, 85 million, I think it's worth it. But I get the feeling that Ineos might walk away from that one as well. So this is key as well. This is not sexy football chat, but depth rotation is key to avoiding fatigue and injury, and that's what you need. Like if Man United are going to have, we last season we had a few players that played most matches. Like Harry, I think not Harry Kane. I think when Maguire came back into the squad, he played every single match, then got injured. And then you see other players that do the same sort of thing. Well, actually, no, he got suspended and Martinez got injured. And you see these sort of factors happening time and time again. That Kobe Mainu suddenly came back into the team. when we switched head coach, played pretty much every single match, and that was the approach. It was like every single player is going to play like week in week out. Luke Shaw played every game. Dallo played pretty much every game, and it feels like with Carrick, one game a week. There was definitely favourites. You can get away with it one game a week. You cannot get away with it with 2 games a week. So a big challenge for Carrick next season is rotation. And I think that's why people look at it and go, right, Kone, if you're looking at Santos, you're looking at maybe Buari, you need to have players that are, there can't be a big drop off between those. So you need a group of solid players that are all at a sort of similar level. Okay, you can say that Buari, a bit younger, Santos, a bit younger, I suppose, in terms of experience, but you need to have good options, rotation options as well. So it could be you start with two as your main options, but you need to probably make subs most matches for some of these key positions because depth and rotation is going to be key to having an intense game. Because United are playing quite aggressive football. You need to be looking at that all the time. But last season, it honestly felt like we didn't. It's not even a case of having rotation options. We were like one injury away from pushing players into positions that aren't really their key position. And I think that's something that needs to not happen. So, if I'm going to have any trust or confidence in Ineos, like people are asking, then you have to look at it and say you have to provide Michael Carrick with at least a chance. Like whether Michael Carrick's good enough or not, I don't think it matters who's the head coach if they've only got one left back, if they've only got say two or three midfielders to choose from. It doesn't matter who's the head coach. Injuries, you can't suddenly manage magic up a midfielder in November because we're down to like forcing to push like Martinez or Mazraoui or someone into midfield. Like we can't have that sort of situation arising. That would be a bit disappointing. Um, Ineos have a plan. I hope they have a plan. We just don't know what it is. Um, Sometimes I wonder whether there was a plan and they got priced out of that one. So if you keep buying cars, you get on the road, and yeah, exactly. So I'll say this, okay. Two things can be right at the same time. And if you consider, say, Alex Ferguson was the master of rotation, I think that's my viewpoint. If you have a settled squad, you can have a settled squad where you have, okay, Lamans is going to be in the team every single game. You can start the majority of games with Benjamin Sesko. Bruno Fernandes will be on the pitch every single game, pretty much, you'd imagine. And you probably see Cunha and Buemo most games. And if Man United can get a settled centre back partnership, whether that's going to be Maguire, Yoro, Heaven, probably maybe it's Lissandro Martinez, two out of those four, I would probably say I would rather see gradually get Hayden, maybe Heaven and Euro as one option, and maybe look at trying to get one experienced, one younger player. You can have you can have a settled squad, but what you can do is make one to two, like a couple of rotations each match, like Alex Ferguson would do. So one match, Santos can start. Next match, you've got maybe Kone's got a start, and again over the course of the season, all these players will get to play a lot of games, and if you're a bit like we used to do. We saw that a little bit with Carrick last season, where Cunha got benched a couple of times. You saw Ahmadjallah coming off the bench. You saw Dorgu on the bench. So you did see a bit of rotation there. We couldn't do that in midfield because there wasn't any options. We couldn't generally do that in defence because we started running out of options. And I think I think Carrick knows that he's got to do that as well. You can't play the same team week in week out, but also you don't want to do what Chelsea did and try and play one team midweek, one team on the weekend. You don't suddenly change like about six players. You just change one or two every get. So you just gradually, players go for a cycle of whether maybe you're playing two or three games, then you have a game out. I think for people like Luke Shaw, you probably want to see him rotated a little bit more, considering he is a bit more susceptible to injuries. It's just sensible progress, and maybe one or two games, an academy player can step up, play a few more minutes. You can just gradually tweak things a little bit. But and over the course of the season, you just need that to just try and manage. One thing we've seen a few times over the last couple of years is players will play with a bit of a knock, bit of an injury. If you've got a bigger squad, you can just say, okay, you're carrying an injury. Like if Maino's carrying a bit of an injury, don't get him to play, hope exacerbating that injury and then lead to him missing a lot of games. bring in Joe Gomez, bring in like Boadi, have some replacements there as well. So it's for me, it's not about let's get two starters and two backups. Like, let's get four players that are capable in midfield. Like Main is capable. I think Santos is capable. Let's get two other players that are going to give us like a good balance. I think because Santos is quite young and Main is quite young, I think most of us are looking at thinking, let's get a bit more experience. I think actually João Gomez is a little bit older. Kone's older again, so that experience is there. That's why Bruno Guimaraes that might actually be a decent signing. Like, I don't really care about his age. £60 million. He's going to go to Arsenal. I think he's there to win stuff as well. Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to say anything. It would be for me. It'd be ridiculous to say something negative about how's Carrick going to cope next season. I have no idea. No idea. I mean, one game a week, he was like getting the best results in the league, wasn't he, from January onwards? Let's see what happens next season. Let's be open minded, and then any player that signs for Man United, I'm going to be the same energy for Dorgu. I gave Dorgu like say let's say give him like 6 months before we even talk about how he's getting on because he's a young player coming from a different league. I think Santos will probably be scrutinised because he has played in the Premier League, but again, moving to Man United, it even took like Cunha. It took him probably half the season before we start seeing the best from him on a regular basis. So it does take a little bit of time, and I think this time at the moment we're going to be building a completely new midfield. Let's see what happens. Helgi's saying that you get the problem is that Carrick loves Shaw, Maguire, and Dallo. I know it's a concern. The problem is there wasn't really an alternative for Luke Shaw. Mazraoui had his injury issues a bit as well. Also went to AFCON, but I think yeah. So Dallo was there. Also Maguire, but I think overall one game a week it was fine, wasn't it? One game a week it was fine. They were getting good results. But again, I think it's the same kind of thing for any manager that I would. I don't. I was actually thinking this. I was talking to my daughter yesterday, and she asked me a question. She said, "Right, who's your favourite player?" And for Manchester United, I was just struggling. I was thinking, I don't really consider like favourite players anymore. Like maybe a long time ago, you'd have Eric Cantona as my favourite player, and actually, you can just check the emojis. You got like Mark Hughes, David Beckham, and I did have favourite players then, Roy Keane. But the weird thing was, maybe half the team was my favourite player. They had loads of good players, and at the moment, when I'm talking about transfers, apart from maybe Boadi's like a favourite player I'd like to see get when I'm talking about transfers, I'm just trying to think, right, what the hell makes our team better? Like, how are we going to make our team go from being a team that got third but had no European football to a team that can get third or even better and be fine in Europe? And it feels like the options that are out there that we're going to be almost guaranteeing that are getting less. So that's why when I'm looking at the moment, I think there shouldn't be any favourites in the squad, but there's not many options. If you said, right, give me a first 11, I'd always put Sesko on there. There's no other option. Like I think Sesko's good, but there's no option to replace him with another striker. Really, you can put other options there, but they're probably not as effective. And if we're not using Luke Shaw, are we going to throw someone from the academy in there? I don't think so. And if Mazraoui or Dallo, I think it's worth trying both and seeing how that gets you get on. And I think maybe Mazraoui didn't get as many games as people wanted, but no, give him some games, see how he does. I mean, he's not in the World Cup. He was doing a mixture of some good things. I know he gave a penalty against Brazil, but he looked okay in a lot of the matches. I think that's something that you've got to give give character options and say your favorite player is fully fit. Is there a fully fit? Is there a fully fit Litter? Even Martinez. I think Martinez was. Look, I saw him put in some amazing tackles against Switzerland, but then I saw him like playing people offside, and I saw him making mistakes in the Egypt match. So Martinez, I do like, but he is I think he's either very very good or slightly can be a bit of a liability in some games. But yeah, he is a good player, but whether he's got the consistency enough to, I think he's going to be a good mentor, I think, for Aiden Heaven. But I think ultimately, someone like Aiden Heaven should take his place, depending on how quickly he gets up to speed. But no, having him around is going to be useful. Definitely, he's definitely a battler, I'm probably going to be disliking him when England play Argentina in a couple of days' time. But no, at the moment, if we get a fully fit version for next season, that will be important because Delit's not around for a little while. Yeah, no, so big up to people that just tuned in. I said we're going to do a shorter stream, so big up to you, Malps. You think Carrick's relied on experience and consistency last season, so he had an outside chance of becoming permanent? I think I think so. I think it's very much like when we had this conversation about, say, Ruben Amorim and Michael Carrick as their different approaches. I think Ruben Amorim he wanted Agate and Casemiro as midfield, so he went for a midfield which he thought was experienced. And I think from fans, you look at Koe. I think Koe is actually a much better player than Agate, so that didn't make a lot of sense. But you can see that he had an idea, and it was maybe certain things that Ruben Amorim wanted, certain things that Carrick wanted. They just picked the players that could do that immediately. Carrick had no preseason, did he? He didn't have a lot of preparation. He just came in January, so he had to effectively go right. How do I want to play? And you go for the more experienced players because they'll just be more able to maybe they're more able to do what Carrick wanted short term. And also big games that he had against City, against Arsenal. He just went for experience to start with. This season though, I think it'll be different. I think you can't do that approach for the whole season and that many games either. So if Michael Carrick evolves, then we'll have to see. It's going to be a big, you know, a big step up, isn't it? Really. Funchi's saying, "Don't be surprised." So England got to the last bus thing. Do you think what he's saying that you think that England will win or Argentina will win? I did call my bookmaker. Did maybe Tonali would have bet on it. As for odds, we'll be on 30 minutes. He said the book was closed. Yeah. No, I was thinking when I do more regular streams in the morning, they might be a bit shorter, a bit of a recap. So if people miss it because it's a bit earlier, it might be that they can somewhat get involved. So let's look at the poll. And I thought, right, we'll put a poll here. There'll be four options, and they're the options that were mentioned in the story I saw. So I'll close the poll and see what people are saying. Because I did think when I put the poll together that I put this on screen just to say these are probably the most likely options, okay? So the most likely options are probably going to be price dependent for transfer number two. And best option, so at the moment, JOAO GOMES getting only 9%. I don't think in the chat at the moment, but Nikki did say that, am I going to cover JOAO GOMES? Yeah, I didn't stream much on the weekend for various reasons. And I think, all right, I'll cover JOAO GOMES. Not so popular now. I think very popular maybe about, I don't know, in January certainly. And then you look at Alex Scott, 19%. Not that popular actually. Kone 23%, but best option by miles is Bawadi. So if we see many stories coming out as well, nice one, Helgi. Nice one. Actually, looking out the window, it's the first morning for a while. It's not bright sunshine, but it's been really nice this week. But so people are thinking Bawadi is the best option in terms of like one player. If I was going to sign one player from that list, I would probably get Bawadi. If I was going to go for two, I would probably get the top two. I think Alex Scott is, for me, a bit too expensive. And I think Buwadi would be a great player to have in there. Kone's got the experience of international level now. I think he's ready to step up. I think that would give us a decent balance. Buwadi, Kone, Santos, and Koemenu. In terms of options left, I know there might be better options in some people's eyes. I don't think that for me does give you some good options as well. Would I rather Santos? Let me see Kate's comment. Would I rather Santos, Kone, and Gomez or Casemiro on 1 year extension? I like Casemiro did well, but if you watch the World Cup, but I think there's so much. There's I don't know. There's when you watch the World Cup, like Casemiro, I think it's yeah, he's been an effective player for Manchester United. But if you watch Casemiro versus Buwadi, Casemiro was getting destroyed by Brady in that match, and he got benched. And if you want to have a more, if you want to progress, at some point, Casemiro needs to move on. Like Casemiro is not going to be walking into the top Premier League teams, and against more mobile midfields, Casemiro was struggling. And I think that if I had an option of like getting Brady or keeping Casemiro, I'm getting Brady. And I think it's just you have to progress, you have to move on, you have to try and develop your team for sure. Be up to you, Matty. As soon as Carrick was appointed, it was a foregone conclusion. If he got higher than 10th, it was a shoo-in. I don't know. Jim, I would say that I think he had to get Champions League football. I think if he got Europa League, it's a 50-50 one. If he got like 8th or ninth, I don't think he's going to be staying. I think Marston's only has 2 years left on his contract. Is it? Yeah, it might be about that. I think with Lissandro Martinez, I've said this as well. He feels like he's like a good player, but you know when people say if he was fully fit, when you start using the words if he was fully fit in every sentence, it makes me think he's not fully fit all the time. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is, isn't it? Big up to you, Jules. So I'll finish in a couple of minutes if people got any final questions, and then that will be like a record short stream for me. But I will gradually try and get a little bit quicker because I can't do like 3 long live streams a day, but I can do a couple of short ones. So I always remember Casemiro and Maguire tearing down the right wing dribbles. Exactly, but I think as good a job as Maguire can do on the wing, it's not what we ideally want, is it? No. This is the thing as well. Casemiro, when you say, "Do I want Casemiro next year?" 2 games a week, Casemiro's not doing that. Like he's not doing that. We saw him in the World Cup, and he got subbed at halftime because Buwadi ran him ragged. The game where I think it was against Japan, Casemiro was dreadful in the first half. He scored a header, and then everybody said amazing, but no, he was dreadful in the first half, and I don't think that like Casemiro. I don't want to say anything negative, but look, his his time is gone. Like at the highest level, his time is gone, and Man United need to move on Casemiro. So he's not going to be someone that, if you're looking at it this way, look at Elliot Anderson, runs all match, like week in, week out. Buwadi does the same. You could say Kone is going to be able to do that. Santos, Manu, they're going to be able to play multiple games in a week if they need to. And I think United need to move on. Like if you've got Casemiro in your squad, effectively, you're going to have to make a decision each week. Does he play in the Champions League or does he play in the Premier League? But with other players, you can feature a bit more. And no, it's no discredit to Casemiro. It's just the age he's at. It's just not the Premier League is not the best option for him as well. And do I think Spain can stop France? Well, I was thinking from like if you watch the channel about I don't know maybe like before the World Cup started, I was talking to my daughter again yesterday, and I said on the stream, I can't remember which one it was. I said the teams at the World Cup that are going to win it, you got France, you got Spain, you got Argentina, you got England. I think largely speaking, despite the odd games where people got a bit excited about a draw, I don't think the World Cup's thrown up many shocks, many surprises. The 4 teams in the semi-finals are the 4 best teams that were pretty obvious the best teams. If you look at it, World Cup final 4 years ago, you got France, you got Argentina. Euros final a couple of years ago, Spain, England. They're the best 4 teams in the world at the moment. And probably the dark horses were Norway, and they came very close to breaking that top 4. That was so for me. The World Cup's been largely predictable. When it comes to this stage, Spain have got something. They've got some tenacity. They're not blowing teams away. France have not played a team close to the level of Spain yet in this competition, so it's very difficult to judge that there's been a lot of easier games for France because France have got the firepower. I think with Spain, they've got the level of midfield France has not played before. So France has not played a team that's close to Spain's level. But I saw vulnerability in Spain against Belgium. And again, I think Belgium maybe went under the radar a little bit, and Belgium got close. They caused Spain some problems. I think when I saw Belgium versus Spain, that's the first time where I thought, France they've got different level quality players to Belgium. Spain are a possession based team, but on the break, France are ridiculous. You got Mbappe, you got Elise. I just think with Dembele as well, you got three people here that can run through your team. I think it's going to be an exciting game from a neutral. I think if I'm looking at it from an England perspective, I think I prefer to play France. I think I think I prefer to play Spain. I think France will win this game, and I know a few people that think Spain are going to be favourites, but I think France. I think this World Cup has shown me that I think it's favouring the people that go aggressive and try and score goals. Someone like Bellingham, who like makes the runs, forces the game, is getting a lot of joy. Someone like Mbappe, players that are playing aggressive are getting more joy, and we're probably seeing like a couple of standout goalkeeper performances, but overall, shots from distance are yielding loads of success. So I think if I was France, I would just keep taking efforts on goal because we're seeing goalkeepers spill chances. England and Spain both got through on a goalkeeping error from a shot from distance, which should have been dealt with a bit better. And I think that France are going to cause more problems. I don't see Spain as being as dangerous. But again, if Spain can like really control possession and really shut down the attacking threat of France, they can do it. But I think it's like a 1-0 to Spain, or if France score first, I think it's like a could be like a 3-1. I think France could potentially blow Spain away if they started a strong, got an early goal. But I think it's going to be a very cagey match. I'm looking forward to it. The England Argentina game, I think, is 50-50. I have literally no idea how that's going to go. I think it's going to be more like the 2002 game where it's going to be very, very cagey, very, very tense. And actually, 98 was very tense as well. But go for a few. Say France will win the World Cup. I think France are favourites for the World Cup. Let's say Argentina and England playing against mediocre teams. I wouldn't say that they're that level. I think you can't say Harry Kane is rubbish. You can't say that their team's very good. I think England have been consistently good for a while, and I think so. Same as Argentina, France. These teams are always in the latter stages of competitions, aren't they? John O'Connell says by both Kone and Gomez. Maybe. I think I don't mind buying one of them if the second one's Buwadi. I've said that a few times, but we'll have to see. No, I think the World Cup match. There's not a lot between the teams, is it? So I think in cup football, be aggressive teams. You think France versus Argentina? We'll see. I think England and Argentina. It's going to be the best team they played. I think England playing away to Mexico was maybe the hardest game they had. Argentina's hardest game. I thought Switzerland were the better team, 11v11. Put it that way. So 11 versus 11. I thought Switzerland were the best team, but with a man sent off, it was a different story as well. But guys, we should be back 1 p.m. So I'm going to head off now. I will try and do these streams a little bit shorter. But until then, guys, thank you for watching. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Please share the stream if you can as well. Thank you, moderators, and keeping the chat as well. And thank you, channel members, for supporting the channel. And we'll be back at 1 p.m. Hopefully, some breaking news. And there's a socials pinned if you want to be. If you're on Discord, Facebook, or you're on what's the other one? TikTok, then you can follow us on there. Until then, guys, have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you at 1 p.m.